Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, lawmaker accuses vested interest for revenue loss in the oil sector. Troops of Operation Forest Sanity kill bandit leaders in Kaduna Forest. Nigeria's unemployment rate to rise by 41% in 2023. And on the international scene, at least 40 killed in Myanmar military air attacks. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Sagir Ibrahim. Now the news in detail. The member representing Ikpoba Oka Federal Constituency of Edo State in the 8th National Assembly, Johnson Agbonayima, has blamed highly placed Nigerians for the humongous revenue loss in the oil and gas sector. The lawmaker made the allegations at the ongoing public hearing on the alleged loss of over $2.4 billion revenue from the illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil exports in 2015, including crude oil exports from 2014 till date. The report.
The oil and gas sector, particularly crude oil, is still the mainstay of Nigeria's economy, accounting for 95% of the country's foreign exchange earnings and 80% of annual budgeted revenue. An ad hoc committee was set up in December of 2022 after a motion brought before the House by Ibrahim Isiaka on the need to investigate the serious loss recorded by the country in crude oil sales amounting to billions of dollars. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, here represented in his welcome address, stated that Sections 88 and 89, including the House rules, gave the House power to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the alleged crude oil theft.
The onus is on the House of Representatives as a responsible House of the Nigerian people to carry out a thorough investigation to ascertain the veracity or otherwise of these allegations, including the investigation into crude oil exports from Nigeria from 2014 to 2022, to ascertain the accuracy of recorded revenue from the source during the period, the utilization of this revenue and identity, and likely additional losses in the revenue to the country.
This was further buttressed by the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Mark Gibila, who assured the invited organizations that the aim of the investigation is not to witch hunt, but rather to address corruption and also strengthen the whistleblower bill, which will soon be passed into law by the National Assembly.
So I want to assure you that while we will not allow Nigeria's commonwealth to be stolen and frittered away, we will also have to uphold the very tenets of human rights and the rule of law to say that everybody deserves a right to a fair hearing.
The NNPC, CBN, AGF, Upstream Regulatory Commission, Ministry of Finance, Accountant General Office, and others all ignored the first day of the hearing as the committee adjourned to next week. Meanwhile, a group known as George Obo Whistleblowers Network has kicked against the ad hoc committee investigating the alleged loss of $2.4 billion in revenue from the illegal sale of 48 million barrels of crude oil export in 2015, including all crude oil exports and sales by Nigeria from 2014 till date. The group, during a peaceful protest held on Tuesday at the National Assembly, wants the ad hoc committee to stop the investigation, saying it cannot be a judge in its own case. They said the whistleblowers who gave information on the illegal sales of the 48 million barrels of crude oil were neither asked to write a petition nor called as witnesses to appear at the ad hoc committee hearing.
The people that are supposed to be at that sitting, they are not carried along. That is the major issue now. The whistleblower are not carried along, and they just want to be a judge in their own case.
The Whistleblowers Network is of the opinion that since it has already filed a suit in court to look into the matter, the ad hoc committee cannot hear the matter anymore.
Also, the Plateau State Commissioner Bartholomew Onyeka has broken his silence over the sealing up of the House of Assembly by the police following the crisis over the seat of the Speaker. The leadership crisis erupted last week, Monday, when the impeached Speaker, Honorable Abok Nuhu, was reinstated by the High Court and presided over a plenary. However, new Speaker of the House, Yakubu Sanda, and his loyalists rejected the development, setting off a crisis which forced the police to seal up the House. Adu Musa reports.
This is the first time the police is officially speaking after the House was sealed up by the personnel of the command. Days after the judgment by Justice N. Musa that reinstated the impeached Speaker, both Abok and Sanda have separately continued to lay claim to the leadership of the House. Abok is basing his claim on the court, which he claims was definitive. On the other hand, Sanda claims he has appealed the case at the Court of Appeal judge, and until the upper court gives a ruling, he remains the Speaker of the House. Since the situation continued to conflagrate, the police on Wednesday last week sealed the House.
Sections 214 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended 1999 and Section 4 of the Police Act is very much relevant here, because the deployment of police personnel to the State House of Assembly wasn't targeted against any person or group of persons. It was merely preventive to maintain peace, protect lives and properties, and to prevent the breakdown of law and order.
The police commissioner is quick to clarify that the closing down of the House of Assembly was not aimed at giving advantage to either of the factions.
As I will not just be here, watch members of the State House of Assembly turn the Plateau State House of Assembly either into a boxing ring or a battlefield. After taking such measures, the police, who is also a party in the suit, filed.
The commissioner, however, said the House will remain closed until the matter is settled. The police commissioner is therefore urging all law-abiding citizens of the state to go about their normal activities. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Also, the All Progressives Congress APC is asking the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal to dismiss the petition filed by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. APC faulted the petition on many grounds. It also challenged the court's jurisdiction to hear the petition on the grounds that it is, among others, incompetent. Among APC's grounds for challenging the competence of the petition are that Obi was not a valid member of the Labour Party at the time of the election. On Obi's claim to being a member of the Labour Party, the APC argued that he was a member of the People's Democratic Party until May 24, 2022, when he was screened as the party's presidential aspirant in April 2023. The APC stated that Obi participated in PDP screening exercise and was cleared to contest the presidential election as an aspirant. It added Obi purportedly resigned his membership of the People's Democratic Party on the 24th of May 2022 to purportedly join the Labour Party on the 27th of May 2022. Also, a coalition of Arewa elders has warned political actors, particularly the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to desist forthwith from what they described as unguided post-election political utterances. The elders were of the opinion that such utterances are capable of triggering a repeat of the 1966 coup that led to the killing of regional leaders. Reading the communique shortly after its meeting in Arewa House, Kaduna, the chairman of the group, Suleiman Usman Jere, further expressed worry that the Labour Party presidential candidate has continued to display anti-democratic tendencies capable of causing civil disobedience and threats. The elders therefore advised whoever was aggrieved following the outcome of the elections to seek redress through the courts rather than incite chaos. Also, the Lagos State Governorship National and State Houses of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal has received a total of 48 petitions in respect of the 2023 elections held on February 25th and March 18. A breakdown of the petitions as obtained from the Secretariat shows that 4 petitions were filed to challenge the governorship elections held in the state on March 18, 2023. Those who filed the petitions are the People Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate Abdulaziz Adediran, as well as the Labour Party governorship candidate Gbadebo Rhodes Vival, who filed as the sole petitioner. Others are the Allied People's Movement and the Action People's Party. The tribunal also received 5 petitions from 5 senatorial candidates and 26 petitions from House of Representatives candidates that lost during the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections, while a total of 13 petitions were filed to challenge the elections into the State House of Assembly. Also, the Labour Party has postponed its ward and governorship primaries scheduled to hold between 11th and 13th April 2023. Though no reason was given for the postponement, the party said that the exercise is now to hold between 13th and 15th of April 2023. A statement signed by the Secretary of State Labour Party Management Committee, Nneka Igwe Onwudiwe, said the postponement was ordered by the National Executive Council of the party. And to security, troops of Operation Forest Sanity on Tuesday said its operatives ambushed and neutralized 2 bandits in Kaduna State. The acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, 1 Division Nigerian Army, Lieutenant Colonel Musa Yahya, confirmed the incident in a statement in the state. Yahya said following a tip-off from an intelligence source, troops of Operation Forest Sanity under the 1 Division Nigerian Army ambushed and successfully neutralized 2 bandits leaders, capturing arms and ammunition and other equipment. He said items recovered from the bandits included 1 motorcycle, 2 AK-47 rifles, 6 AK-47 magazines, 250 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, 1 power bank, 2 charm vests, and the sum of 200,000 naira. The General Officer commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army and the Force Commander, Joint Task Force Operation Well Punch, Major General Taurid Lagbaja, commended the troops for their professional conduct and perfect execution of the task. And in Bauchi State, the Security Council has warned religious leaders to be guided in their preachings during and after the month of Ramadan and avoid insightful comments that are capable of disrupting peace and stability in the state. The chairman of the council and secretary to the state government, Ibrahim Kashim, who briefed journalists at the end of the emergency security meeting held at the government house on Monday, said 2 major issues threatening the relative peace in the state were discussed. Trust TV's Adamu Imam was there and now reports.
Ibrahim Kashim said the recent preaching by an Islamic scholar in the state during a Ramadan tafsir has generated a lot of heat, reactions, and counter-preachings that may not augur well for the peaceful coexistence of people of the state.
We are resolved that Bauchi is a very peaceful place and we'll do everything within our power to make sure that it remains peaceful. We are not going to allow anybody, either through actions or utterances, to disrupt the peace that we have been enjoying in the state. And that's why we felt it is important that we meet here today and then after our meeting to brief you members of the press and the public. The state government is aware of its responsibilities. One of its major responsibilities is to provide security and guard the lives and properties of people. We are a multi-religious society and we are multi-sectoral. People have different sects. Everybody has the right to practice his religion, and nobody, and I repeat, nobody has the right to determine for anybody how he goes about his own worship. And we're not going to allow anybody henceforth to insult anybody or insult the faith of anybody or insult the people that other people hold as dear to their faith. And we are saying it in all honesty. We are determined. You can see the whole gamut of the security apparatus is here, and we are going to make sure that the peace that we enjoy in Bauchi State remains so. Thank you very much.
The chairman noted that the resurgence of young armed group popularly called Ansara Suka, who are attacking innocent residents and looting their belongings, was also discussed extensively.
There was also the issue of some youth popularly known as Sarasuka, who had been marauding some parts of the state capital and other cities in the state, for which we have we're glad to inform the public that we have dealt with it, and the people can go about their business without any let or hindrance.
While admitting that insightful statements are bound to cause division between people, the council said government will not allow anybody, either through actions or utterances, to disrupt peace the state is enjoying. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The National Population Commission's NPC says it is adopting what it called hybrid methodology with use of natives to ensure a hitch-free census in insecurity-prone communities in Rafi, Shiroro and Mariga, among other local government areas of Niger State. The State Federal Commissioner in the Commission, Mohammed Letijo Usman, made this known at a one-day capacity building workshop for Census Committee on Processes and Methodology of the 2023 Population and Housing Census in the state. He said with the advocacy and awareness so far undertaken by the Commission and the methods to be used where natives would be the head counters, resistance to participate among citizens in security-challenging areas would be minimal. Asked whether the natives to be used would not manipulate the figure in favor of their localities, the Federal Commissioner said the headcount would be monitored from Abuja, saying the NPC is using international best practices to ensure that the outcome is acceptable.
We have come up with a method or a methodology by which we are going to count those areas. We have what we call the hybrid. Already satellite maps have captured those areas. Now, during the period of actual selection, we have a strategy that we use the natives to enter those places and count those. So everybody will be counted, including fishermen, nomads, and madmen even. With this digital census, that is no longer possible, because in that one census that you talked about, which had challenges, you're only counting persons. You can sit somewhere and begin to fill forms. This one, you go to a building, and as an enumerator is going towards the building, he is being watched from the monitors. In Abuja, the DQMs are looking at what you're doing and say, no, go to that place. You are not yet there. And so we cannot put in number unless we have an interview with a respondent. So it will be accurate census. What we want you to do is to help us spread this news so that the census will be acceptable. And we are using best international practice, best global practices to make sure that the census is acceptable.
The social media has been dominated since Monday evening by the violent torture of a woman by a man. The police have responded swiftly and have arrested the culprit, who is facing prosecution. Jimmy Azandi, who is following the case, now reports.
Uncle!
According to police sources, the culprit is in custody and will be charged to court immediately. Aside from his arrest and detention, some Accordians have been speculating on what could have triggered such violence.
It's accumulation of anger. The anger is accumulated there, and then if you don't bring it out, it forces itself to come out, and your action is violence. And sometimes people are born with anger, so they are bound to behave angrily when any little opportunity is given them.
There's been a rise in this domestic violence, sexual harassment. This has actually been on the rise, and problems. What will somebody say are the reasons? People move around and they are not well psychologically.
Experts attribute gender-based violence to poor parental upbringing. On the flip side is a patriarchal culture in Africa which continues to influence the way men treat women, even in the modern world.
It's only a man that has this thing about him be the Lord and the king that will raise his hand like that and beat a woman. A man that sees a woman as equal would not strike harder.
Societal issue that has given men some kind of authority, that they feel they are the alpha gender and they can treat the female gender with the way they feel, and there have not been enough repercussions to caution them.
The experts feel the rising human rights violations can be minimized if certain modalities are put in place. But there is a lot of appreciation for the bold steps in recent times by civil society organizations and the security agencies.
Yeah, you need to involve a psychologist who will be giving you psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is a talking cure, or will be counseling you. That is a discussion between a psychotherapist and a client. At the end of the day, the client is going to benefit from it.
Thank some organizations that have actually taken this as their own responsibility. And I want to tell you that at the level of the Center for Gender Studies, this is a research-based institution, a research-based center on gender and development, and these are issues that are of concern for us.
Despite increased awareness of what constitutes breach of civil liberties, a lot of responsibility still rests on residents to report incidences of human rights violations to the referral agencies like the police for appropriate action.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Still to come, we'll tell you the reasons why some families bury corpses at home. This and more when we return from the break. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining, you're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Now, recap of our top stories. Lawmakers accuses vested interest for revenue loss in the oil sector. Also, troops of Operation Forest Sanity kill bandit leaders in Kaduna forests. Moving on to other stories now, a trailer loaded with powdered milk rammed into a mosque at Suleja, Niger State on Tuesday, leaving at least 3 people trapped. The accident occurred around 6 a.m. when many had left the mosque after the morning prayers. According to eyewitnesses, the trailer fell on the back section of the mosque where women and children pray. However, 3 people, including a child, were trapped in the ruins and subsequently sustained injuries. When our reporter visited the scene, sympathizers were seen around the fallen vehicle, which blocked parts of the very busy Bida Road close to the popular Babangida Market. Also, the Ondo State Police Command has arrested 2 suspects for allegedly involving in lynching a suspected internet fraudster, Tope Olorunfemi, to death in Akure, the state capital. The mob also set Tope's car ablaze. The deceased was killed by a mob in the Ijoka area of the city due to reckless driving. 2 persons died in the Monday incident, while 6 others sustained injuries. But hours after the incident, the spokesman of the Ondo State Police Command, SP Fumilayo Odulami, said the suspects would be charged to court after an investigation into the matter. She noted that it is yet to be confirmed that the deceased was an internet fraudster as alleged by the mob. 70% of the operational cost of most poultry, agriculture and other livestock operations are taken up by animal feed. Sadly, Nigeria's animal feed sector remains underdeveloped, largely due to high production costs. Stakeholders are seeking to improve the fortunes of the operators in the industry by tackling the challenges which has limited the expansion of Nigeria's animal feed sector. Noel Sampson has more on the details.
Nigeria is the 40th leading country in livestock feed production in the world. The sector has the potential to do much more if it is able to harness alternative food resources for food production of animal feed.
In any kind of animal husbandry, one very important aspect of it is that you are able to feed the animals. And we are talking about food security and nutrition security for humans. Equally, we'll have to do the same for the animals because they are what we consume. And if we don't feed them well, they get sick and we consume, we might end up getting sick. And it's very important that we go and look for alternative sources of feed, not just the usual grass.
Livestock production, as we all know, represents most of our protein intake in Nigeria, and protein is very important for growth, whether you're talking about children, whether you're talking about pregnant women. In general, it's very important for our development as a people and for our health as a people. So it's all connected. And part of the job of the media, which you and I represent, is to help set the agenda for what is important, what is in the public interest.
But it doesn't stop at improving on the world ranking. Expanding Nigeria's animal feed sector will not only boost production levels, but will also improve the lot of the country's livestock consumers.
The same ingredient that human beings consume are the same ingredient we are using to produce animal feed. The prices are so high that when we use them to produce animals, the cost of the end product is too high for the people to afford. That's why the egg is expensive in the market. That's why a kilogram of meat today is between 2,500 and 500 naira.
We talk about unemployment in the country. So once we intensify, it will generate, people say agriculture can generate employment. It's a fact. But the kind of employment that we really need, it has to do with processing and intensification. The time bomb of unemployment are those semi-skilled. When I say semi-skilled, I'm talking about graduates or those who have NCE, OND, HND, the first degree. These are the time bomb. They are a bit skilled, but not very skilled. But those are the people we really need in processing.
The animal feed sector in Nigeria is estimated at about more than $2 billion. It continues to attract significant local and foreign investment in large-scale feed mill operations and could be another major source of employment if improved on. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Also, small-scale poultry farmers in Jos, the Plateau State capital, are recalling how the new Naira policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria negatively affected their businesses, with many saying they lost significant part of their capital. The farmers also explained that getting the money to buy feeds for their chickens at that period was difficult as customers had stopped coming to buy eggs. Ado Musa completes the report.
Although many business owners were affected by the policy, some were more affected than the others, considering the nature of their businesses. Poultry farmers in the state say the level of havoc the CBN policy wreaked on them could not be quantified easily, as they lost millions of naira. They recall that beyond the prices of the commodity crashing drastically, eggs got spoiled on a daily as patronage almost came to a total end.
It wasn't an easy period for us because we lost a lot. We bought feeds, but there was nobody to buy the eggs. We literally begged people to buy but couldn't get them. The policy did not only affect us, it killed us business-wise. The degree of loss is too much. A crate that was sold 2,100 naira became 1,000 naira. It was a huge loss.
Of course,
the cashless policy really affected our small-scale farming at home, because before the cashless policy, we do have so many customers that do patronize us. But when the cashless policy came, because of the lack of cash, the customers didn't have the money to come and purchase the eggs again, and the eggs keep piling up and some even getting rotten. Due to the lack of cash, to purchase feed for the chickens that are in the farm was also an issue because of lack of cash.
As a poultry farmer, it affects us in such a way that we are having layers and the broilers chickens. So through their eggs or the eggs they lay, we used to sell and buy feeds for them. So the price of the eggs dropped down to the 1,200 or 1,003.
The farmers, however, hope that business will return to normal after the reintroduction of the old Naira notes.
Our hope is in God because government cannot do anything for you. They promised times without number but couldn't fulfill. We are looking up to God for intervention.
We don't want any problem to be more than the one we have already faced. Our hope is that we will have more solutions, more than problems, and make sure that it's going to be of great importance to us and to the society too.
They call on the government to come to their aid to enable small-scale farmers remain in business. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Also, the Commissioner of Police, Idowu Owonhua of Lagos State, on Tuesday visited Isheri Oke area of the state over an early morning crisis that broke out in the area. The visit was to get first-hand information on the crisis with a view of nipping it in the bud. Take a look.
In the early hours of Tuesday at Magodo Isheri Oke area of Lagos State, there was a clash between two traditional rulers in the area over a court judgment. Some hoodlums had stormed the area with broken bottles to prevent the court bailiffs from pasting an appeal court judgment given on March 16, 2023, confirming the landlords in the community as the owners of the land. The commissioner during the visit met with two traditional rulers, Jamiu Ogunsi, Olofin of Isheri, and High Chief Said Olayenka, Oshorun of Isheri, advising them to maintain peace with each other in the area.
This morning, it was around 5 o'clock, I got a call from the CDA that something is happening at Isheri, that you see a lot of boys, it's more than 100 at Isheri now, that they want to start pasting a paper or something, that's collecting a judgment. I say, what judgment is that? Okay, I'm coming. Kerasan. To be sincere, when I was coming, I saw them there plenty. I was torn, go back and turn before I can get to Palace here. Kerasan. After that, and I called several people that what is going on here. They say that some people collect a judgment. They say, how person collect a judgment without our consent in this community? Kerasan, that they want to face, they want to take over somebody's property. I say, no, that one can't be possible. If you want to enforce a judgment like that, Kerasan, there must be a proper document before you can enforce a judgment. Kerasan, and we make a necessary step on it in order to find out what is going on. This matter is already in the Supreme Court. Why can't let them wait for the Supreme Court to decide before you can force any judgment? That is what caused all this problem this morning. We Oshorun family, we hold this Isheri, and we are law-abiding citizens, so we don't want any trouble here.
The police commissioner addressed the press at the Isheri Police Division and also aired his views on the outcome.
That occurred in Isheri this morning. And of course, my message to them, both parties, is very, very clear. The judicial process is there for everybody to vent, to advance their interests, raise their concerns, and seek a judicial interpretation and judgments. The police as an institution is not involved in that. We only enforce the law.
He assured that all those involved in the disturbance of peace in the area will be brought to book and urged traditional rulers to ensure they settle the matter in court, since the case is already in court, instead of resorting to fighting and disturbing the peace of the community.
Also, the Lagos State Police Command on Tuesday decorated 36 police officers to higher ranks and presented the sum of 48.5 million naira to 78 families of those who lost their lives during the course of their service. The event took place at the police headquarters in Ikeja, the state capital. Take a look.
The Inspector General of Police has been consistent in promoting officers with unblemished records. At this event, seen a remarkable one, 36 police officers were decorated and promoted to higher ranks, while 78 checks were given to the family of those who lost their lives during the course of their service. Present at the decoration ceremony was the Commissioner of Police, Idowu Owohunwa, who decorated the officers, the Assistant, Aisha Haruna, Archbishop of the Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Ephraim Ademowo, and many more.
Welfare and promotion scheme represents a critical component of the agenda and the leadership vision of the Inspector General of Police. And since he came on board, he has been consistent in ensuring that officers with unblemished record are put forward for promotion as at when due, subject of course to vacancies. So what we have witnessed today is a phase in this IGP's agenda.
15 Chief Superintendents of Police were promoted to Assistant Commissioners of Police, 19 Superintendents of Police to Chief Superintendents of Police, and 2 Assistant Superintendents of Police to Deputy Superintendents of Police. Over 48.5 million naira was given to the next of kins of those who lost their lives in the service. The newly decorated officers and beneficiaries shared their view on the day.
Advice to people is that when you work hard, you get your promotion. Thirdly is that if you are, maybe you are not fortunate to be elevated today, but wait patiently.
On that note, we want to reassure the general public because higher rank demands higher work responsibility, that we are going to redouble our effort to make sure that citizens within the country are able to close their 2 eyes and sleep safely.
Right now we have some projects we are doing, like the place I'm living, so I have to put some things in order so it will go a long way, and my children that are still in school, it will assist them too.
The Commissioner of Police, Idowu Owohunwa, assured of the determination of police leadership to continue to address the welfare needs of personnel in the state and the country at large.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, has warned states against raising the approved fare for the 2023 Hajj exercise. The Deputy Director for Information and Publications of NACON, Musa Ubandawaki, in a statement on Tuesday stated the Commission has received information about some states urging intending pilgrims to pay fares that are different from what NACON asked them to receive from pilgrims. Recall that the Commission had pegged the lowest price for the Holy Pilgrimage at 2.88 million naira for Ikiti and Ondo states, while those from Lagos, Oyo and Osun states would pay the highest price of 2.99 million. He said the fare is less than 3 million naira inclusive of local charges for all categories of pilgrims under the state pilgrims welfare agencies. He therefore appealed to all stakeholders to work as a team in harmony and under a conducive and peaceful atmosphere to avoid any measures of exploitation of the pilgrims. Also, fire has destroyed properties worth over millions of naira at the headquarters of the Katsina State Education Trust Fund. The fire, which gutted the computer hall, registry and the office of the Executive Secretary, started at around 8 p.m. The blaze was eventually put out after 3 hours by a joint team of Good Samaritans and officials of the State Fire Service. Abdullahi Yamadi was there and now reports.
A visit to the scene of the fire incident reveals that staff and other officials of the Education Trust Fund are still counting losses.
But we can see the main server of electricity into the secretariat starts from here. So the incident starts from here. That's our assumption and the assumption of the general public.
The cause of the inferno may be electricity faults occasioned by frequent power outages.
There is no even relationship between the fire outbreak and our own supply, because each customer, whether individual, industrial, or commercial, they're supposed to have their own safety relays. They're supposed to have their own safety relays. So even at the small houses, there is something we call this circuit breaker or cut out. I know normally our customers know cut out. So if there is any high voltage or any unstable supply, it will cut the supply. It won't enter the house or the premises.
Officials are worried because all the archives of the Education Trust Fund have been destroyed and most of the lost data cannot be retrieved. This building was commissioned by President Muhammadu Buhari in 1998 when he was the chairman of the now defunct Petroleum Trust Fund (PTF). The objective of the structure was to complement government effort in developing education. Observers are concerned about the neglect that the Education Trust Fund has suffered from the successive administrations since then and are calling on the incoming administration to rehabilitate the building and ensure its effective utilization. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Still in Katsina, residents are groaning under epileptic electricity supply over the past 19 to 20 days, especially in the state capital. The dissatisfied residents who spoke to Abdullahi Yamadi say the problem, which started a day to the commencement of the Ramadan fast, has heightened the difficulties in water supply and other basic needs that require adequate electricity supply.
In many areas of the ancient city of Katsina, residents get electricity supply for 1 to 2 hours daily at most. The most worrisome situation is that even when there is electricity, the voltage is too low to power refrigerators, air conditioning units, boreholes, and grinding machines.
Concerning this time of Ramadan fasting, we are suffering. We don't have even this cool water that we won't break our fast with it when it is during break, and there are so many things that we are lacking.
Most of the businesses that requires adequate electricity supply have been grounded. These tailors say if the situation does not change, they may have problems with their customers because of their inability to meet up with the deadlines just a few days to Salah festivities. It's not just about irregular supply, but also about low voltage. Sometimes you can see light, but it can't power anything, not even charging your mobile phone. There is need for quick intervention. I, for instance, have closed shop and moved to another business that does not require electricity supply to feed my family. I can't fold my arms waiting for something that is not certain. Observers say the failures of the power sector has caused many small and medium businesses to fold up. However, electricity officials argue that the problem is from generation and transmission and not from distribution, which is their only responsibility at Katsina end.
Presently, the level of water is very low, so the generation companies that use hydro generations companies, they are facing shortage of water level. So as a result of that, the generation is very low. And secondly, the other source, that is the thermal generation companies that use gas, they are facing shortage of gas.
Many Katsina residents are finding the epileptic power supply unbearable and the period of the Ramadan fast more tedious, and this is compounded by the harsh weather and economic realities coupled with. Abdullahi Ismail Ahmadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Graves are commonly seen in the front, beside or at the back of ancient houses in typical Yoruba family compounds. Some go through the extent of burying corpses inside their houses and live comfortably with the dead, a practice attributed to culture. Hamid Oyegbade examines this and now files the report.
Yoruba culture is very rich and engaging even as religion and modernity takes its toll on the Yoruba cultural heritage. One of the aspects of Yoruba culture is on the brink of extinction is burial arrangement and rites. In the past, relatives would bury remains of departed relations in the family compound or the house of the deceased. This allows unrestricted access to the dead.
Yoruba people bury their parents inside their room or inside their parlor. They can still go there and invoke the spirit of ancestor. Call upon the ancestor to come to their aid.
When somebody died, people prefer to bury them at home, simply because if they consult the oracle and the oracle asks them to perform sacrifice to such person, so they will go easily to the grave and pray and do whatever necessary the oracle asks them to do.
It's part of our culture, because when people die from your compound, you have to bury him or her at your family compound. But now, I don't think our people, they are not doing it again now.
However, there's a legal twist to this. Lawyer Adeniton Akinola says the culture of burying corpses at home is punishable under the law.
Nigeria, now let's look at it from a legal perspective. Nigerian law forbids the burial of a dead body in residential apartment. Section 246 of the Criminal Act, the Criminal Code Act, provide that anybody who buries a corpse in a residential apartment or at a certain distance, that such a person is guilty of a misdemeanor and is liable to 6 months imprisonment upon conviction. But of course, because there is a synergy between law and the culture of a people, so it's difficult to enforce such a law. That's why it's rare for you to hear that somebody has been convicted for burying his mother or father in his resident apartment. Because by the culture of the people, we revere the dead, we honor the dead, and we still carry the dead as if they are alive. That's why we have to bury them with expensive casket, still bury them in our sitting room or bedroom. And that makes the law very difficult to enforce. But the law is the law, and it is clear.
It goes without saying that the law forbidding burial of corpses at home is unenforceable due to the impact of culture. The implication is that the decision to bury corpses in the residences is left to individual preferences.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. The news returns shortly. Stay with us. Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
That's great.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. To other news now, multinational consulting firm KPMG says Nigerian unemployment rate had increased to 37.7% in 2022 and will further rise to 40.6% due to the continuing inflow of job seekers into the job market. The firm, in a newly released report tagged KPMG Global Economy Outlook Report H1 2023, said unemployment will continue to be a challenge due to the slower than required economic growth and the inability of the economy to absorb the 4 to 5 million new entrants into the Nigerian job market every year. The report also said that in 2024, the unemployment rate will grow to 43%, while inflation will accelerate to 20.3% in 2023 and 20.0% in 2024. The KPMG further noted that the incoming administration will face a deeply rooted challenging environment characterized by fragile and slow economic growth and challenges in the foreign exchange market. The firm projected recovery in telecommunications and trade services, as well as an expected recovery in the oil sector on account of measures being taken to tackle security issues to drive the forecast of 3% growth in 2023. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted a free trade zone status to the Ekiti Knowledge Zone. Ifedayo Shayo, Special Advisor on Media to Niyi Adebayo, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, announced the development in a statement on Tuesday. Shayo said the President's approval followed a request by the Trade Minister. He further said the approval was conveyed via a letter addressed to the Minister and signed by Ibrahim Gambari, Chief of Staff to the President. Free trade zones are areas in which businesses are exempted from the normal regime applicable in Nigeria. However, the government expects such companies to boost national exports, create jobs, and help in diversifying the country's economy by bringing in new activities. Also, the World Bank Group President David Malpass says global growth is expected to be weak in 2023, slowing to 2% from 3.1% in 2022. Malpass said this in his opening address at the ongoing Spring Meetings 2023 media call. The president listed the rising U.S. month-over-month core inflation, the diversion of natural gas to Europe, amongst others, as reasons for the slowdown. Malpass said two exemptions to the slowdown included China and India. According to him, China's gross domestic product GDP growth is rebounding to more than 5% in 2023, while India continues to be one of the fastest growing major economies in the world. And on the international scene, Myanmar's military has launched air attacks on a central town known to be a bastion of opposition to the coup carried out 2 years ago. Reports say dozens of people were killed and wounded in the attack on Tuesday, one of the worst since the military seized control of the country. The air raids occurred as residents gathered for the inauguration of an administrative office. 40 people are so far confirmed dead, with the death toll likely to rise. No immediate response from the Myanmar's military rulers was available. 3 first responders were killed in the second attack while rescue work was being carried out. Let's now join Adeniyi Ajishafe for sports news.
Nigeria Judo Federation, led by Musa Oshodi, has announced date and venue for National Judo Open Championship. The championship will serve as talent discovery and trials for judokas that will represent Nigeria at Paris 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers built for Niger Republic in June. The National Judo Open Championship will run from May 13 to 24th, 2023 at Delta State University Delsu Sports Complex, Abraka, in all categories of judo, including cadet, junior, senior, and all age grades. And in basketball, Minnesota Timberwolves' Rudy Gobert has apologized after throwing punch at teammate Kyle Anderson during his team's 113-108 win over New Orleans Pelicans. Frenchman Gobert appeared to hit Anderson in the chest, and the pair was separated by players and coaches. Gobert was sent home early by his team for unacceptable behavior and suspended for a game. Tim Connelly, Minnesota's president of basketball operations, said the club is handling the situation internally. Victory saw Timberwolves edge past Pelicans in 8th position in the Western Conference and clinch a spot in the play-in tournament, and a tie against Los Angeles Lakers for a place in the playoffs. And in football, Super Falcons defeated New Zealand in an international friendly game played on Wednesday in Antalya, Turkey, in a faultless performance from the 9-time African champions. Fans of New Zealand started on a strong note, making some moves into the Nigerian box, while goalkeeper Chiamaka Nadozie did enough to stop them. Skipper Onome Ebi put Nigeria in front in the 34th minute through a header before Jennifer Echegini made it 2-0 immediately after the resumption of the second half. Sarah Okwaranozie was introduced into the game in the 58th minute for Esther Okoronkwo as she made her presence felt instantly. Okwaranozie sealed the game for Nigeria in the 94th minute to ensure another comfortable win for Super Falcons. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
Thank you, Adini Ajishafe, for sport. However, we end tonight's bulletin on a sad note. A former governor of Anambra State and elder statesman, Chinwoke Mbadinuju, is dead. He passed away at the age of 78 on Tuesday morning at the National Hospital, Abuja, after a brief illness. The ex-governor's death was announced in a statement by Cheta Mbadinuju for the family. Mbadinuju was Anambra governor between May 1999 and May 2003. Cheta said his funeral arrangements will be announced in due course by the family. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour. At this time, don't forget to follow us across all our media platforms. On behalf of the crew, I say good night, and I'm Sagir Ibrahim.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.